So when I tell y'all that the astrology tells a story, it's really wild when you start going back and looking at where you've been. We are so accustomed to just looking for what's next and what's next and what's next that we forget to stop and zoom out and see what the entire point of the story is. But I was looking at this Jupiter Saturn trine coming up a little bit more, and it's happening at 13 degrees, Saturn in Aries, Jupiter in Leo. I have a 13-degree Leo 8th house north node. So I looked to see when Saturn made the first trine to my north node from 13 degrees of Aries. That's when the snake showed up at my window. I was just kind of hanging out there looking in, and I mean, it was weird. It terrified the crap out of me because I don't like snakes in general. But it was non-venomous, and it was actually looked a little curious, almost like it was like, hey, you're gonna come out, you're gonna hang out, whatever. And that's when I came out of my little like month and a half long hiatus, right? And I started coming back on here with a different approach to what I had been doing previously in the past, right? But the story is even deeper than that because lunar families last 27 months from the new moon to the third quarter moon, which check-ins every 9 months. And in August of 2024, we had a Leo new moon at 12 degrees. And that whole time period, the month of July, actually, I had like a spiritual experiences left and right. Truly thought I needed a grippy sock vacation, but it really changed my perspective on the astrology. I've studied astrology off and on for 30 years. And something in that month of July of 2024 completely changed my perspective. And this is when I started putting the gods back into it and the stories back into it instead of boiling everything down to math and definitions. And my ability to read astrology has soared since then, since changing that perspective. And that's how I've been approaching it ever since. And now here we are coming up on this like wide open door between the Jupiter and Saturn at that same degree as that August new moon, which is also interesting because in August, another major turning point was the Jupiter Saturn square, the very first one that we had that was in August as well. So now we're in that next step of that story. So really, this is how we learn whole lessons, is we look at the whole story instead of looking for each little event, and we start seeing how everything is building on itself just as time rolls on and you begin to see purpose in what's happening.